Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to another Maker Mornings with Meg, Friday edition. So today on this LovenStamps video, we are going to make a mess. So we're calling it Make a Mess Friday. Although I promise if you know the tips that I'm sharing with you in this video, then it's really not so messy. And I think you're really gonna like the effect that comes together from this project. So we're gonna actually use some products that I haven't shown you before. So one of them is the Dandy Garden Memories and More cards and envelopes. And they come in a package like this, 20 cards and 20 envelopes. The envelopes are beautiful. They have a lining on the inside and they're, wrong side. There you go. They're already kind of decorated on the front for you, so you don't have to worry about having a coordinating envelope. But we're gonna use this as our card base and we're gonna build on that to do so many things today. My gosh, okay. We're going to make a custom mask. We're going to use embossing paste. We're gonna make it Ombre Embossing Paste. And we are going to, let's see, maybe that's it. But still, that's a lot. Custom mask, Ombre Embossing Paste. Okay, we're gonna do a little watercoloring with water painters too. So I'll give you some tips on using those, especially if you have them and you're struggling with getting the water to flow, we'll get you guys all settled. It's not a problem. Would you like a sneak peek of the card we're gonna make? Hey guys, happy Friday. Sharon, Kathy, Gian, Sue, Cindy, Trish, Tanya, you guys, the gang's all here. Okay, so here's the sneak peek of our card. All right, can you see those flowers there in the background, the ones that are on the back of the card? These guys that are raised embossing paste opaque flowers, that's what we're gonna do. So, all right, so let me, Trish says, messy, crafty. Yep, this is kind of a fun collage. I really like the collage style. And often my collages aren't very messy. This one is just a little bit messy, but honestly, it's not bad at all when you know the tricks for this. So, morning, Kelly. All right, and Kelly, I'm glad that it's Friday. All right, so I'm gonna turn you guys down this way and get our space set here. Now, we have kind of a lot of space showing because there's kind of a lot of pieces that you're gonna wanna keep track of. So we're gonna use our braided twine, all these good things. So first thing you need to do for this is grab your card and envelope because this is what we're gonna use as our base. So I have my Dandy Garden. These come 22 package, they're all the same and they're a little bit bigger than the normal card size. Let's see, they are 6 1/4 inches tall by 4 1/4 inches wide. So just a little bit different format, which is kind of fun. It gives us some more space to play with here. And hey, Pam. So then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make our custom mask. And for that, I am gonna start with a piece of basic black cardstock. It's sized to fit across here. You could make it bigger than your card front, but you don't really want it to be smaller. And I'm gonna show you why, because the embossing paste is going to travel a little bit, and so you want to have lots of space where it's not getting on your card accidentally. So there's tip number one, make your paper your mask at least as big as your card front. Okay, so custom masks. The stamp set that we're using today is the Dandy Garden or Garden Wishes stamp set, which coordinates with the Dandy Garden dies. And so of course, you know, we're going to use the Ladybug trinkets, but I'm gonna start with dies from here, which I've pulled, keep them on my magnet. These 3 little shaped dies here. And I love these because they make a really great outline shape that can be sort of interesting, but also fade into the background a little bit. They're not like so detailed that they're gonna really, you know, take over your card. This one would be really pretty for this technique too, but I would do that maybe not on a busy background. So these are gonna have enough oomph to really hold our spots. So I'm gonna cut 3 spots there, and then I'm gonna slide them over and cut 3 spots there. And keep in mind that you don't wanna line any of these up. You don't want them to be in line with either edge of your cardstock because that really stops the motion of your design. You want this to be sort of organic and freewheeling. Lining things up in a row is not organic. So there's definitely a place for lining things up in a row, but not on this card. So through the magic of television, I have these all cut out. So I'll drop these back on here so I don't lose them. And now we have a mask, and you can see the holes that I've cut in there to go with this. You can, happy Friday, Amanda. You can, of course, do this with any color cardstock. I use black, so it'd be really easy for you guys to see what I'm doing. If you want to repeat this technique and do it a few times in a row, the thick basic white cardstock or the thick vanilla is a good choice because you just get a little extra heft. Now, I'm going to grab next some painter's tape. The narrow tape is fine, the wide one's fine, and I'm gonna pop it alongside our card. And you don't need to use this if you're just using straight embossing paste, but if you're going to add joy, mess, to your project with the reinkers, the ink refills, then you want to have the masking tape on a paper cardstock, cardstock mask, because you don't want that ink to sink through your paper. If you're using a plastic mask like we did yesterday and the day before for our flamingo card and our zebra card, and I put the link for these tutorials in the video description if you're looking for those, then you can just go ahead and you would want to use the masking tape on here to give you a place to put your paste, okay? But the ink sinking through obviously is less of an issue. All right, so we're gonna kind of position this here. Next thing I need is my embossing paste. And this comes in two varieties. That comes in embossing paste and shimmer embossing paste. And either way, it's a little bit like the spackle that you use to fill little cracks in drywall, little holes in drywall. And so I'm gonna use my palette knife. I do love this diamond shaped one here. And I'm going to pull some of this out of here. And I'm gonna err on the high side of how much I've got. It doesn't last forever. It does, like other, pasty things, dry out over time. So I'm not gonna worry too much about saving tons of this because, it doesn't last forever. So I think there's a lot in the jar and I probably won't get through all of it unless I really try before it needs to be replaced. So, but it does last a pretty good time. You wanna make sure you always keep the lid tightly on your embossing paste, okay? All right, so I've got a sort of wads of embossing paste here on my card. And then the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna flick off some of this extra because it's gonna stick to those if I leave it. And I'm going to bring in my ink refills. So I have Cajun Craze, Bumblebee, So Saffron, and well, we'd use our Mossy Meadow for later. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop, because I want this to have this fun ombre effect. I'm gonna start with the darkest at the bottom and just drop a drop onto my embossing paste, kind of in the middle of each of these. And you can kind of do a little trial and error and see if you need more ink or less ink. You put a couple drops and so forth. And the first time I did this technique was in like 2017. I did it for a rainbow, like a full-on rainbow card. So there's lots of possibilities you can do with this. We're kind of staying with our same color palette here. All right, now because I am right-handed, I am gonna swip this upside down for you because I really need to pull across this way. Otherwise I'd be getting across my hands here. So now what I'm gonna do is go ahead and mix a little bit here just on the side. I'm gonna press that ink in so that I don't get ink shadows, and then I'm just gonna wipe that across my card. Now you can pick it up and you can kind of pat it down if you want to. I really like the wiping because it gives me these pretty like swipe marks. So get off there. Okay. It gives me these pretty swipe marks that go with our sort of organic flow here. So we'll get this back on here. So I'm trying to keep the lines all going sideways. There we go. And I'm just gonna kind of press and wipe across to get the embossing paste into those areas. All right, you guys want me to move you a little closer? Let's see what we can do here. There we go. Okay, then I'm gonna go on to my next color. I'm gonna kind of wipe this off on my mat and mix a little bit and then wipe this darker color across here. Okay, and then come up here and do this. And then make sure you get all those little cracks filled in, but still finish it with that wipe. And then I'm gonna go on to my last one. The So Saffron is a little lighter, but not a ton. And I'm gonna wipe this across too. All right, so I've got that all going across. And then I come back down here just a little to kind of mix. I'm gonna add a little of the light yellow in down here just to make it a little bit more ombre and a little bit less, specific colors. All right, and you guys ready for the reveal? We've had some fun reveals the last couple days with our masking. Here we go. Oh, you can see why I want my cardstock to be as big as possible, because if I have my card over here, I'm gonna wipe a line. Here, you can kind of see, like on my scratch paper, I'm gonna wipe embossing paste onto it. So you really wanna be generous with the size of your mask. And when I peel this up, I have, ta-da, this really pretty ombre embossed background. Can you guys see that? All right, now the smart thing to do is to go ahead and make another one with this because you wanna, make the most of your embossing paste. So I'm gonna go ahead and skip it, but if you were doing this, you would wanna go another time. You can get away with a couple of wipes across before your cardstock will start to get saturated a little bit. So I made 3 cards off of the same mask earlier this morning because I was having so much fun. But your palette knife you want to clean right away. Embossing paste dries super fast, which is a fabulous thing and a terrible thing. So keep your tools clean. Just keep a tissue or a paper towel or something handy, baby wipes, to wipe them off right after you use them. If there's not wet embossing paste on it, it's drying embossing paste, which will be hard to get rid of in the long run. So, okay, so here is another version of this. You can kind of see this sort of different color effects. Like Trish said, it's a different effect every time. You get just a little bit of different color variation. And then the next thing to do here, maybe I'll pick one that's dry, is to go ahead and get our next part together. So I have the Dan Guard Wishes stamp set here, and I'm gonna go ahead and stamp this on Whisper White cardstock with my Memento ink, because we're gonna do a little watercoloring. Now, if you're gonna do a lot of watercoloring, you would wanna use StazOn, because StazOn is an alcohol ink. So if you stamp with alcohol ink, you can color with water. The reason that we stamp with Memento when we color with blends is that we stamp with a water-based ink and color with the alcohol marker. So usually you want to flip-flop and do 2 different things so you're not smearing, but this will be okay. All right, and then this is going to get die cut. So one of the other fabulous dies from the stamp set cuts the flowers out perfectly. So through the magic of television, I have this guy here. And then I'm going to go ahead and start coloring. So actually, maybe I'll move this out of the way so I don't inadvertently damage it. And I'm gonna grab my Bumblebee ink pad and my Mossy Meadow ink pad for my coloring. Okay, now, instead of using the ink pad side, I'm gonna go ahead and use the tray side. And we used to say that you could take your pads and squish them in the middle. You sort of can still, but they're, the cases are stiffer. So usually I just take my ink refill and put 1 tiny drop of ink in the lid. You don't want a ton there because you don't want it to run into the edges. And then I'm gonna use my water painter. Now, a word about water painters, they're different from the old aqua painters. The old aqua painters, basically you'd touch the little barrel one time and like gobs of water, like fire hoses would shoot through them. That's not the case with the water painters, which if you're trained to just have a little tap and expect water to come out because you've been using the aqua painters for so long, then know that you're trained. You'll have to retrain yourself. It doesn't come out like that. With the water painters, you have so much more control though. When you push, water starts to flow. When you stop pushing, no more water flows. So they are a little bit more fine-tuned than the ones we used to have as aqua painters. Although I do love aqua painters and they're indestructible too. So if you have them, keep using them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull a little of this ink over and I'm going to press my water painter so that I'm adding some water to it. I'm gonna press and hold, okay? So that I can dilute this a little. And then I'm gonna take that and I'm going to just paint it here onto our flowers. And I'll go back. I don't wanna go over and over and over that ink because first of all, it's hard on the paper. I'm not using watercolor paper, just basic white. But second of all, it is going to make my lines run since I just used Memento here. Okay. Memento ink. All right, so I'm gonna get a couple of these colored in yellow. Then when I wanna go on to my next color, all I have to do is press, remember, press and hold or water won't flow. I'm gonna press and hold my water painter until no more yellow comes out. And then I'm gonna set this aside and switch here to my Mossy Meadow. And I'm going to color here. And I love the painted brush lines. I do find that they work best when I'm drawing towards me. So I'm gonna kind of go up this direction. And I also want my darkest color to be at the bottom. So what I'm gonna do is start each line, unlike what I showed you before. I'm gonna start each line towards the bottom and then go up. And if you look at the lines on this stamp set, they are super forgiving because they are kind of like a messy drawing, a messy sketch. And so I don't have to worry too much about getting perfectly in the lines or perfect watercoloring. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw some color on there because really a lot of this we're gonna cover up with our greeting anyway, since you guys have seen our card. All right, how we doing? Okay, so get this green on here. And Mossy Meadow and Daffodil Delight are the colors I picked for this because they're part of the Dandy Suite. And I think that the Mossy Meadow green, I had Granny Apple Green out because I love it so much, like we used yesterday. But Dandy Apple Green is really like synthetic looking color to me. It's not organic. And Mossy Meadow is a much better fit for our, get a little darker color, a much better fit for our dandelions here in this sort of organic feel. Of the drawing is very organic, and then our card is very organic with our ombre coloring. So, all right, and then usually when I'm done, I wipe out my water painter. Remember, press and hold. See, works great. And then that will clear out my water painter so it's ready for next time. Okay, so I have my card I'm bringing back in here. I have our dandelions here, which are colored to match, and I'm gonna layer them on like this. But just like the other cards I've shared with you recently, I feel like this needs a little bit more anchor between these two elements. So part of that is going to improve when we put our greeting on. So let's go ahead and stamp our greeting. I'm gonna bring my Memento Black in, and I'm gonna do the wishing you all the best, which is a terrific greeting for lots of occasions. And then my tailored tag punch, which is kind of a fun contrast here. It's got these straight lines, and it makes this card a little bit less feminine and a little bit more, you know, all-purpose. So, all right, so this is, oh, duh, this side helps to put the greeting up. This is gonna go here. So, I always like to add embellishments, and I want to reuse this green color because right now our green color appears only here, not anywhere else, and it's feeling a little bit lonely to me. So I'm gonna bring in our braided trim, and I want this to kind of do, I think, a zigzag across here, but let me show you a tip for making that zigzag effect easy. So it's tricky to like stick this down and glue and blah, blah, blah. It is easy, however, to grab an edge of your Stampin' Dimensionals, okay, and pop this on here. Thanks, Amanda, I'm glad you like it. Pop this on here across the back, and then start pressing my string into it. So I'm gonna have it go off of one end, I'm gonna have it loop over here, and you can see how I'm just pressing into my dimensional as I go, and then I think I want this last part to pop up off the side. So it's pretty well set. It's not anchored all the way yet because I can flip it over. Oh, I like that. I think I want this to be a little narrower. So I'm gonna affix this right here. I'm holding it with my finger. And then I can just go to the back side easily and add an extra dimensional or two to hold my element on our card and also hold that string in place. So, all right, haven't peeled them yet. So I'm gonna do my test like placement. I like this, but I feel like it's a little bit busy in the background. So when I have a busy background, but I don't want to cover it, my go-to is always a vellum cardstock. Vellum is fabulous because it is almost see-through, so you can get the effect without having to cover everything up, but you still get a little bit of differentiation between what's background and what's foreground. So I could use my trusty 2.25 inch circle punch. That was the wrong one. But I had them out, and so I'm going to use my stitch shape dies, which are circles, squares, and ovals. And the video has a link in the description to these. They're one of my go-to die shapes. I think you probably figured that out if you've seen me talking about them. Now, question, do I put the vellum on top of the flower or the vellum under the flower? And I think the answer is clearly the vellum goes under the flower. So we have this nice element set here, and then we're gonna layer this on. All right, so let's put some dimensionals on the back of our flowers here. And we'll kind of peel these off. And here is another tip for working with vellum. If you've worked with vellum before, you know that it has an annoying habit of having the adhesive show through. So if I put glue on the back here and press it down, I'm gonna have a glue spot here. So the way to get around that is to always layer it and put your adhesive places on after you know where they'll be covered by your other elements. So I've already got my flowers on here. I know that these are safe places to pop dimensionals so that they aren't gonna show. And then I can take this whole element and pop it here on our card. All right, then I'm gonna peel these dimensionals here from our back and go ahead and pop our greeting on here. Okay, now I feel like this still needs an embellishment, and the embellishment of choice for this suite is hands down these crazy, super cute ladybug trinkets. So I love to attach these with glue dots, which I had here a second ago. Where did I put them? I'm gonna grab these. I love my storage stuff in the back. My glue dots are always where I need them. If you're looking for storage ideas, make sure you go back to the early days of LovenStamps Studio Tours for the studio tour parts, the organization videos. So I think I have a playlist for that. Anyway, I'm gonna pop this guy on here so that he's all on the cardstock and you can see him, but he's headed off to check out those dandelions. All right, so this card is a fun way to use the Garden Wishes stamp set and the dies. If you're looking for another idea, this is one that I shared earlier. And actually you can see that the layout is really not all that different. So we have a card shape. We have a focal point that's kind of down here at the bottom corner. We have these background flower images that I use here in cardstock. And then we have this focal point, which here is created by our vellum and our greeting and our little ladybug right there in the middle. And here, this background mat was this technique here with the gold foil. And if you're looking for this technique video, I'll show you this up close. If you're looking for that technique video, it's linked in the description too. I think this is episode 75, so. Which seems forever ago, yesterday and forever ago, all at the same time. And then of course, the fabulous thing about these cards is they have these matching envelopes, and let's see, can I bring back in? Yep, my embossing paste from the one that we did together here is dry already. So it really does dry pretty quickly, which is, like we said, a blessing and a curse. Keep your palette tools very clean. The same goes for plastic masks, or these masks. If you're using these acetate masks, make sure that you wash them right away, like almost between every 2 cards, because otherwise the embossing paste will start to crystallize on there and you won't get it off. So they're not technically ruined, they just are rougher for doing different things. So, all right. So I think that kind of covers us for Friday here. I know that you guys probably have fun plans for your weekend. I hope they include crafting. Maybe they now include making a little bit of a mess. These cards are a lot of fun, and really you can make any embossed background. You can do hearts, you can do flowers, you can do just any shape that has some oomph to it. Background patterns are great, like the little bricks from our butterfly set. Do I have that handy here? I do. This guy, here are butterflies that we're using for monthly tutorials. This little brick stamp right here, you could make a mask with. And do masked brick backgrounds for cards. There's so many great possibilities for making custom masks. So if you have any questions, let me know. I have put the links for supplies in the video description, as well as the cards that I referenced, the ones that we did with the other masks and the one I did with that cool dandy garden background technique. And yeah. I appreciate you guys taking the time to stamp with us this morning. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will look forward to seeing you on Monday for another card. So, all right, happy stamping, guys.